Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm very excited for this video because today I get to try a new machine and you guys get to watch me use it for the first time. It's the 10-watt XTOOL M1 hybrid laser and blade cutting machine. I believe it's the first machine with both functions. The company MakeBlock gifted it to me in exchange for an honest video review, so here we are. So let's go ahead and see what's inside. So here's the actual M1 machine. Definitely loving the size. Nice desktop size and small enough for my craft studio. It measures 21.9 by 17.5 by 9 inches and weighs 21.6 pounds. Here are some cutting mats for the blade function and some materials to test, including a dog tag, leather, and vinyl. Here we have the exhaust kit, a set of triangular prisms. I'll show you how these are used later. Some blades, power adapter, and USB cable, and of course a user manual. They also included a premium material package with all kinds of stuff we can play around with. Here's the list of materials and the setting instructions. Another extra accessory included was this rotary for engraving cylindrical and spherical shaped objects such as cups, rings, and balls. And to be able to use a rotary in the machine, you'll need a set of risers to add more height so the rotary can fit. Unfortunately, I won't be able to test it out in this video, but I will in the future. Now let's set up the machine. First, install the exhaust system. For now, I have it hanging outside the window like this, but eventually I will like a nice setup like this one. Next, put the blade in the blade housing. Similar to the Cricut, you push the pin and insert the blade and the magnet inside will secure it. However, the blade needs to be screwed down and you can do that by turning the bottom part while stabilizing the top part. Screw it down until just the tip is showing. Then plug in the power cord and turn it on. Next, download the Creative Space software, which can be found on their website, and connect the machine to the computer via the USB cable. Okay, so let's try engraving on this metal charm first. This was included in the premium package. When you place the material, we need to make sure the red laser dot is on it. This way it can measure the material if needed. This machine has a camera inside for capturing the material so you can do live adjustments. So now let's upload an image. In this case, my shop logo, and it is a PNG file. Adjust the size to fit in the charm. And we need to align it, which I struggle quite a bit, to be honest, from making sure the material itself is positioned straight on the base plate and making sure the text is aligned. On the Creative Space program, the auto alignment didn't quite work well for me, so I ended up using the arrow key on my keyboard to make the final or the fine adjustments. I'll talk more about the alignment issue on the engraving later on. For the setting, you select laser flat, then for material, select stainless steel necklace, and it should default the material thickness. If you are using material not included in the XTOOL selected list, you can click the auto measure and it will measure the thickness. And under height raised, select no. Also here we need to make sure the engrave function is selected. The power and speed is set at default for the material selected, but if you are using non-XTOOL material, you would need to figure them out yourself. Anyway, I should have done this first before aligning the text, because after the right selection, the text got misaligned, so I had to realign it. Next, click Process, and it will prompt you to press the circle button, and the machine does the rest. I was so happy that it actually worked on the first try. Now there will be some yellow dust from the metal, just wipe it off with a soft cloth. The details on the engraving is pretty impressive. Now to engrave a text, you click on the text icon here on the left side and type in the text here, and you can choose the size and the font. I also engraved this wooden tag the same way. I did notice a smell of smoke while it was engraving. The enclosure itself is not sealed well enough to keep the fume inside the machine. As you can see, there are holes on the base plate. Even though it has exhaust fan inside, it actually turns off as soon as it stops processing, not exhausting rest of the smoke or fume out. So I'm thinking I need to improve the ventilation by adding an inset fan in the duct. And here's the finished look, and the engraving turned out great. So let's talk more about aligning your engraving. The built-in camera for the image capture system uses a fisheye lens, and it can distort the image as it gets further away from the lens. So it would be hard to get an accurate placement for your engraving on your material. So the best way to tackle this is to make sure you place the item close and center to the camera. And to make sure your material is straight on the base plate, use a straight edge. In my case, I'm using Lego, and align it to the raised edge on the base plate here. Then you can align your item nicely. You can also create a special rig for odd-shaped items. If you want to use the auto measure function, just place the same item under the laser dot. And here's the result, and as you can see, the text is nice and straight on the wooden piece. So because of this, you'll get the best result if you engrave one item or a few small items at a time. Another issue I had with this machine was centering two functions. For example, centering the cut and engrave, or score and engrave, score and cut, etc. My SVG file had the engraving and the cut portion perfectly aligned and centered. However, when I processed it into the machine, the engraving was slightly off to the left by less than 1 millimeter. It doesn't seem much, but enough for me to notice, at least for this piece. Even after using the alignment tool on the software, I still had issues. So the one on the right, I had to shift the engraving over to counteract the discrepancy. I contacted support for help, and they said if the size of the processing file is small, the backlash will be affected. Now I have no idea what a backlash is, but apparently I have to test it in the device setting to correct the deviation. So I did, and unfortunately I didn't see any improvement. Of course, the 0.5 millimeter deviation is not going to be noticeable on a larger scale image, so I need to keep this in mind when engraving small scale items and make adjustments to avoid it. Now, I'm still in the process of solving this issue as I make this video. I will post an update as a pinned comment on this video. Anyway, I hope MakeBlock will make an improvement on this issue in general. Next, let's laser cut a basswood sheet to make a picture frame ornament. I already made this open heart frame, and let me show you how I made it. First, we make the base. You take a heart shape from here and size it to your liking. Then to make the top loop part, take a circle from the icon called Insert, size and shape it to fit the heart. And take another smaller circle, align a center to the bigger circle using the alignment tool up here. We're basically going to merge the circles to make a ring by clicking Combine and click Subtract at Overlap. It should make them into one piece. Then we attach the ring to the heart by first placing it on top, centering it, and then click Combine and click Unite. It should look like this. To make it into an open heart, first to make a copy of the base by highlighting it and clicking Copy and Paste on your keyboard. You can also right-click on your mouse for the selection. Next, take another heart shape, size it and center it onto the heart charm we just made. You can unlock the dimension up here so you can size it disproportionately, which works better for here. Then select both, click Combine and Subtract at Overlap. Now we have an open heart frame. I'll be using the 3mm basswood sheet that came in the premium package. And I'll also be using these triangular prisms to raise the basswood from the base plate. They allow air in between the material and the base plate for proper cutting. I didn't do it for this video, but I would recommend laying down a layer of foil to protect the base plate from the laser. Once the material is captured onto Creative Space, place the images on the basswood. Select the material, which in this case will be 3mm basswood, and that will automatically fill in the thickness part. Then select triangular prisms under Height Raised. And here are the cut pieces, and they look great, precisely cut. You will notice some smoke burn marks on the wood. If you want to prevent this, you need to buy an air assist attachment that you can get from the XTOOL site. But it doesn't matter for me because I'm going to paint it anyway. Now let's test the blade function. I'll be cutting out this photo, which will go in the heart frame. Stick it onto the cutting mat. Very similar to Cricut cutting mat, except it has adhesive on the back as well. Stick the mat down to the base plate and make sure it's well secured. Make sure the blade function is selected, then select the material. Their material selection is very limited since they only have materials they have in their store. They didn't have photo paper listed, so I just selected craft paper and hope for the best. But you can also select user-defined material and adjust the cut pressure and speed, which I think is going to involve a lot of trial and error to figure out the exact setting. Then take the same heart shape that would be slightly bigger than the opening of the frame and place it exactly where you want it on the photo. And fortunately, the cut setting actually worked and it cut through the photo paper nicely. So the frame is painted and I put some double-sided tape on the back of the photo and stuck it onto the base. I used E6000 to glue the frame together. And we have a cute ornament, perfect gift for the holidays. Now I do want to mention that since this is a diode laser cutting machine, it cannot cut through transparent material. The wavelength of the laser goes right through it. However, for engraving, you can do it as long as you put a laser engraver marking paper or coat the surface with a dark colored water-soluble paint. Also, with acrylic sheets, you can only cut in these opaque colors. Again, it has to do with the laser wavelength, so if you're planning to cut acrylics in all colors, this is not the right type of machine for you. You would need a CO2 laser machine. All in all, I had fun experimenting and playing around with this machine. I think it was relatively easy to navigate from setting up the machine to engraving and cutting my first project. And this is coming from someone who has never worked with laser machine with little to no knowledge. Please remember this is my first impression view of the machine. I have more to try and learn. I'm hoping to make series of videos for this machine and share more of my thoughts, some tips I learned along the way, and much more. Also, I want to thank MakeBlock for giving me this opportunity to work with this machine. Well, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!